Happy summer solstice. Really pleased to be here with you after, I guess, a little bit of a break. I did a nice check-in for my year ahead spread that I pulled for myself on my birthday in May. So I came to you in June earlier this month to sort of check in on the energy of the cards from that month. And now today is the first, well, technically the midpoint of summer, but it really feels like the beginning of summer because May was birthday in May. So I came to you in June earlier this month to sort of check in on, all right, still figuring out this live stream with the with lots of different things. So I wish it was a little smoother, but hey, this is how we learn. So anyway, what I was saying was May did not feel very much like the beginning of summer. And even here in Sacramento, like this is supposed to be, a very hot place. And it has been not for the better part of this summer, which I'm not complaining about, but also like I'm ready for the heat of summer. So my name is Carrie. I am your empowering educator, and a lot has been changing in my life over the last couple of weeks. I am basically doing no business. I am basically having no income, and I'm going to be starting a doctoral program in about 2 months, a little more than 2 months. So I thought today about the summer solstice and sort of this feeling of harvest, because that is what the summer is traditionally known for when we were more of an agrarian society, and the wheel of the year pointed to what we did at each point of the year. And generally with the sort of pagan wheel of the year is divided into 8 categories, points, sections. And so I was thinking about, like, what are the next 6 weeks going to bring to me? And this card came out, which is number 3 of the major arcana, called the Nurturer in the Numinous deck, which is the one that I like to pull from for these types of sessions. This was my first deck, and I really love the inclusive and expansive nature of the cards. So in a traditional deck, this card would be called the High Priestess. And this is about centering one's own pleasure, one's own needs, wants, and really filling up from the inside. And I just recently read Trisha Hersey's book, Rest is Resistance. And I loved the point that she, as the Nap Bishop of the Nap Ministry, made, which is that this term, like, fill up your own cup so that way then you can pour into others, just sort of perpetuates the harm of capitalism, which is like you have to earn rest, or you have to rest so that then you can output. And her whole point is that you just get to rest, period, because you are divine. It is our divine right to rest, and it is the most resistant thing that we can do in a capitalist racialized society to reclaim our bodies and the sacred messages that come from rest. And with reversals, I tend to see them as more, they are an internal process that are going to be given to me or are already underway. This isn't something that I have to consciously do. It is something that I am receiving as a message for this point in my life. And so I thought about our collective need to rest, which is great. I think about how rest has often led to some of my best ideas. I'm writing a time travel novel and got my first idea for my first scene from my book. I have had, from my dreams for my book. I have had numerous dreams. I just recently lost an uncle who was very dear to me, and he appeared in my dreams a few nights ago, because he's only been passed about a little over a week now. And how sometimes, when I'm just like unexpectedly falling asleep and get in that like lucid dreaming state, and you wake up and it's like you've slept for hours, but it was like 20 minutes. And so I really am, oh, we got a jumper. Okay. I'm really just sort of present to how much rest and dreaming and imagination are so essential for this idea of like harvest. Like, what is being illuminated? What do we want to cultivate in our lives for the next 6 weeks and beyond? So when this reverse nurturer came out, it felt like a sort of a collective, like, this is more than just what Carrie needs. This is what everyone needs. And just now I was shuffling the cards, and the card that jumped out of the deck, so usually that feels like, hey, everyone, listen to this, is the Ace of Tomes, which is this deck's version of the Ace of Pentacles. And the beautiful artwork on this card evokes ritual, evokes knowledge, sacred knowledge, evokes tradition and deep, deep knowing. Tomes or pentacles or coins or discs, as this deck is called in Earth, as this deck is this suit is called in many decks, is all about the practical, the tangible, the physical. And aces are the beginning of this journey. A lot of times when I read this card for other people, it has to do with making or taking, like making the decision and then taking the first step toward something physical being manifested in life. Where the major arcana are these big overarching energies that we have to flow with in order to experience. The minor arcana energies, to me, are more things that we have practical control over. So this could evoke the question, like, what am I doing every day to center my needs, my wellness, my rest, my resistance, and my physical self? This could look like committing to a certain number of hours of sleep, a particular ritual that feels good for your body, whether it's going for a walk first thing in the morning, doing morning pages, having a particular diet that supports your digestion, an exercise routine that feels really good for you, putting money in your savings, decorating your home or reimagining, how your kitchen is organized. Any of those things kind of fall under the practical, the ritual of tending to yourself. And I love the image on the front of the grimoire of this Ace of Tomes as a labyrinth, because a labyrinth is a ritual practice. If you've ever walked a labyrinth, the intention is to usually keep the rest of the world out. And then as you're taking your mindful steps towards the center of the labyrinth, you are thinking about what it is you really want for yourself and kind of seeing what insights or things fall away as you're taking that walk. And then on your way out, you're sort of thinking about how can you bring those insights into your everyday? So it's really easy for us to get lost in the capitalist grind and just feel like we need to do in order to do. But I think this card, along with the nurturer, really begs the question of like, how can we be intentionally ritualistic about our own well-being and rest and pleasure in a sustainable and practical way that's actually going to support us moving forward. And then with the word grimoire and sort of these crystals and runes scattered about with this depiction, you see this book that looks like a very beautifully worn book that has lots of different post-its or notes in it. I think about the things that I already know, and the things that have come to me or have come to know to be truth. Those could be stories from family, from friends, from the overculture, but they also can be things that I have explored for myself and really just known. And with this book sort of being the representation of the energy of this card, it's kind of asking, like, where do you know in your body, like what is already working for you, what makes you feel best, and how can you like make sure that you come back to that dog-eared page or that tabbed page, or the page that has your tears on it, that has your sweat and blood on it, because you've come back to it so many times. I know that for me personally, this is bringing up ideas for me about like my gut health. I keep reading about the mind-body connection and gut and brain connection, which is absolutely fascinating. I don't have any resources off the top of my head to reference, but just do some research and you'll find some crazy shit about how much literally your shit influences your brain and vice versa. So like for me, this year, like my word for the year was gut, and it was to like really focus on my gut health. And I don't always. I am a triple Taurus and love earthly pleasures. So carbs are one of those things. Cheese is one of those things. Meat is one of those things that I have, and then I don't feel good afterwards. And there's always some little part of my brain that loves to rationalize and be like, this time's going to be different, Carrie. You're going to love this. And it's almost always that after the fact, when I'm having digestive issues, that I say to myself, the taste of this is not worth the discomfort in my body after this. And I know this, and I know it, and I know it. And I come back to that page that I've dog-eared 1,000 million, 100,000 trillion times. And yet I will still go for that cookie. I will still go for the pasta. I will still go for the stinky cheese. And it is really hard to divorce the pleasure receptors from the memory of how much I love these things, even when they don't make me feel good. So this is sort of like the sacred reminder, like, hey, remember that thing you already know about yourself that you should take good care of? Here's your, umpteenth reminder to come back to that. So if there's something in there for you, let me know. Ooh, we just had another jumper, and this one is so appropriate for so many reasons. So we've got the Mystic of Candles here, which is this deck's version of the King of Wands. And this is summer. We are in the season of fire, of heat, if we are in the Northern Hemisphere. And the king is the manifestation of our internal flame guiding us in the external. This card has particularly come up for me multiple times around when I think about like what I really want for myself, which is to tap into my creative passions instead of being the person who's always serving someone else's needs. I have I have tendencies towards the attunement survival style, which I cannot talk about without mentioning NARM, which is the neuroaffective relational model. And I happen to have the NARM book, Healing Developmental Trauma, right here, as well as their second book, The Practical Guide for Healing Developmental Trauma, both of which are very academic, but very informative in talking about complex trauma and how what we went through as kids, usually anywhere from 0 to 6 months old to 1 year old to 1.5 to 5 years and beyond, plays out in obstacles towards what we really want for ourselves, because there's a part of us that's still acting from this childlike consciousness. And for me, with the attunement survival style, it is people pleasing. It is over sacrificing, over committing, feeling guilty when I don't do something for someone else, even if it's at like my own expense. So I am working towards a better balance and a better sense of even like knowing like where my passions lie, where my creativity is, and how to kindle that internal flame before I ever give anything to anyone else. So back to this idea of rest as resistance from Tricia Hersey, and this idea of pouring into oneself just for the divine right that we get to do that, not so that way we can put it out in any sort of way. The Mystic of Candles coming up in this reading is like, it feels like a reminder again with that reversal, that like this internal process of me centering my internal flame, which has been around rest, about reclaiming who I am outside of the classroom. I was a classroom educator for 13 years, did the whole, dear self-sacrificing, pawn in the capitalist system, cog in the wheel of like perpetuating trauma. Who am I independent from that? And this has been a 2+ year journey to really come to this place of letting go of everything that I thought I needed to do, including tutoring, including babysitting, including working minimum wage jobs, including consulting, including coaching, to then have this EDD program, a doctorate in education program, just like present itself to me and be like, hey, Carrie, guess what you get to do? You get to be part of this movement towards transforming these educational systems that are not serving anyone. And the way I have been learning to center my creative needs is through writing, it's through speaking, it's through conversations, it's through using my imagination, which I have learned or realized has been like my most secure attachment for my entire life. And allowing myself to just dream and to imagine what could be possible outside of the education industrial complex. How could we inspire? How can we provoke curiosity and joy and actual learning, as opposed to learning for the sake of producing work to get an A, to get into the next, phase of learning, to just keep people as like sheep in this system. So this is a very long way of saying this card represents what we collectively want to manifest from this flame within. And if you are a person who is also suffering under racialized capitalism, which, hello, if you live in North America in 2023, here we are. If you need to learn more about that, do your own work and find out from good sources what that entails, especially if you're a white-bodied person with privilege who can give back and use their privilege for good. It's really, really important to stoke that flame right now, but to do it in a way that is sustainable. That's where the Ace of Tomes comes in. And to do it in a way that is really being receptive to all of the goodness and the pleasure that is presenting itself. So this feels like a really lovely spread for the summer solstice. And I am curious if you are watching this, if you are experiencing this. Hello, let's talk. If this resonated with you, I'd love to connect with you, because I am speaking into the void right now, and the void isn't speaking back, but I want to say hello anyway. Thank you for being here, void. And even if this is just for me, it's keeping a record of the year as it has been for me. So I am pleased to do it. I am pleased to offer my skills, my knowledge, and my hopefully charm and wit to you all. And I'm also going to probably fuck up the ending of this because the last couple times, like you've heard my voice afterwards. So that might happen again, and that's okay. So happy summer solstice. Get outside, get some sunlight if you can. And hopefully, I will see you all for the next portion of the Wheel of the Year.